Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. Today we are in Disciples Liberation and we are going over my favourite units within the Undead Hordes. And if you end up enjoying this video and want to see more Disciples Liberation content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that way you don't miss out on more videos just like this. Now the Undead Hordes are actually blessed with remarkably good tier 1 units. You could pretty much use any tier 1 unit within the Undead Hordes, put them on the back line, use them as a basic grunt, and they do a pretty good job. But today we are talking about the Spectre with 100 initiative. We hover, which means we get to move over anything on the floor. It doesn't hurt us. And the first ability we have is Haunt. It will deal unholy damage. It will also inflict demoralized to the target below 50% health, and that gives them a -1 to morale, so it debuffs them. Ability number 3 is Death Grip, and you will deal unholy damage to the target that you choose. Now, a lot of tier 1 units don't actually have a passive ability, but with the Spectre we get Incorporeal, which means that anyone dealing physical damage have a 30% chance to miss us, basically making us harder to hit. And if you sit us on the back line, it will deal unholy damage and inflict demoralized on the target. Again, this unit actually attacks the lowest HP unit on the field, meaning we got an extra chance to actually eliminate someone from the field. Next up, we have the Werewolf. This is actually one of my favorite units within the Undead Hordes. I end up using quite a few of these as my basic grunts that make up the bulk of my army. Initiative is 120, and of course we are tier 2. The first ability is Frenzy. It will deal physical damage to the target. And if that target dies, you are refunded a red AP. Ability number 2 will deal physical damage to the target and also inflict Taunt, meaning that target will have to target you. However, lucky for you, your passive ability is Regeneration, and it grants you regen, meaning every round you get a little bit more health back. And if you sit him on the back line, he will grant you Physical Might and Improved Critical, but only to allies using claws to attack. So this is a conditional backline unit. Personally, I don't normally have him sitting on the backline. However, a unit that does work very well on the backline is the Shade. Only 100 initiate. We do hover, meaning that we don't have any of that floor crap bother us, and we are tier 3. The first ability we have deals unholy damage and also inflicts Afraid on a target. Ability number 2 deals unholy damage and it also inflicts Blinded on the target as well. If Shade actually manages to kill anyone with this ability, they are risen once again as a Spectre with 50% health. And that passive ability, it grants Incorporeal to the Shade, which means again, physical damage has a 30% chance to miss the target. And if you pop the Shade on the back line, you will extend Incorporeal to all your allies. They also get Inspired granted to them as well, which is a +2 to morale. Next up, we have the Bone Golem. You can actually get one of these gifted to you in the game as well, which is quite nice to have. 110 initiative, tier 3, and of course it is a melee attacker. Your first ability is Bone Claw. You can attack up to 3 enemies, dealing out physical damage. It also inflicts Taunt on the targets that it hits as well. Ability number 2 is Bone Launch. You throw a jagged bone, hitting a target, dealing physical damage. It inflicts bleed, and it also immobilizes the target. The passive ability is one I don't really like. It's called Self-Destruct, and if you die, you explode, dealing unholy damage. Also inflicts Demoralize. Obviously, that means you lose the Bone Demon, however, so I don't really like it. The backline ability, however, will grant physical protection and thorns to melee units. And if you are someone that uses a lot of melee units like myself, thorns can be extremely powerful. 50% of damage dealt by an adjacent enemy is also applied to the enemy. So if someone attacks you, they get half that attack damage back at them. Next up, we have the Necromancer, another very, very useful unit if used correctly. It has 100 initiative, meaning you're probably going to be attacking last. It is also tier 3, and it is a magic type. Now, the first ability is Bone Strikes, dealing physical damage, also inflicts bleeding on the target. It can attack in a straight line, even through objects. And of course, that attack hits anybody in that line. Ability number 2 is another area of effect attack. It's a good one as well. It deals physical damage and also inflicts confusion on the targets. However, this one does attack your own units as well, so use cautiously. Now, the passive ability most people will probably already know, but you raise the dead. So anyone you kill with a Necromancer comes back as a unit for yourself. Tier 1 and 2 units get raised back as a Spectre, and Tier 3 and 4 get raised as Banshees. And if you pop the Necromancer on the back line, you will be granted, or everyone will be granted, with Strong. However, this is conditional, and it's only if there's somebody in the graveyard. And lastly, we move on to my favourite unit. Yes, it is the Vampire with an initiative of 150, almost guaranteeing you the first hit of battle. We are, however, a tier 4 unit. There are ways to get the Vampire a little bit earlier. There is a companion that you can get, and then there's also a daughter of that companion that you can recruit early on in the game as well. Actually, I think it could be a sister. Either the way, you can get 2 vampires very early on in the game when you probably shouldn't be able to get them. The first ability we have is Draining Claws. You strike the target, dealing physical damage. You also heal the vampire 25% of the damage dealt, and you can use this ability twice if you do not move. The second ability is my favorite ability in the game, pretty much. It is Bloody Vengeance. Now, it is an area of effect. You move in, and 2 squares either side of you get coated in blood. Any enemy within that range gets dealt unholy damage. It also inflicts bleeding upon impact as well. Now, the damage to the target is actually increased by 35% if those targets are already afflicted with bleeding, meaning if you use 2 of these and use that Bloody Vengeance back to back, you will do devastating damage. Your passive ability is actually very good as well, because a lot of people do like to allow the AI to come to them first. So if you skip your first go, you will also be granted with Stealth. You will get Regen, Agile, and Strong. And if you put the Vampire on the back line, you are a damage dealing character as well. You will attack the enemy with the lowest HP, dealing physical damage. And if you actually manage to kill someone with this attack, they will be risen as a Banshee with 100% health. Now, I've used the Vampire on the backline, and I don't seem to find the Vampire attack does actually do that much damage. However, it is there. It is a nice touch, especially getting a unit back as well. But that is it, guys. That is my favorite units within the Undead Horde. There are some very good units here. Again, I would recommend boosting up the initiative on a few of these units to ensure you get the first goes in battle. But as you can see, the Undead Horde is actually very, very powerful. I like the fact that they have 3 tier 1 characters. You pop them on the back line, every single one of them will do attacking. I think at the beginning of the game, that is so powerful. And I like a lot of the extra abilities that you can be granted with these units on the back line. For instance, incorporeal, or having the bone golem and then having thorns as well. Now, if I was to put thorns with an undead army, say a load of vampires, wow, that's that's a lot of damage potentially if the AI actually survived the first round. But let me know down in the comments, guys, if I haven't included your favourite character within the Undead Hordes, and let me know who it is you use and who your favourite unit is. But until next time, I've been a monk and we've been Critically Clueless, and I hope you've enjoyed.
I can hear your heartbeat. I thirst for your blood. Succumb me. Succumb me.